where you can, and assets where you can deploy these tools. So this certainly makes Helios a fantastic tool to generate new sources of revenues.
Okay, so there is this idea of diversification and this opportunity to suddenly cover new industry, which is obviously attractive. Now on the pure financial side, how long does it take to see a positive ROI with Helios? And what's your insight on return on investment to your customers when they're considering the opportunity to offer new services with Helios?
I think that ultimately the return on investment is a function of two factors. The first one is how much do you price for an inspection, and how often do you get to use the drone. Now, over the first one, obviously we have little or no control. In some markets, like in the US, as I mentioned earlier, this is a bit more commoditized. In other markets, this is still sort of up to speculation or up to the initiative of each user. Some companies charge per day, some companies charge per hour, some companies charge per asset. What we do have influence on, and where we like to help our customers as much as possible, is the number of inspections performed. So this is probably our biggest challenge at the moment, is how do we help customers get the word out there, and how do we help them to get as much business as possible with Helios. I think there's certainly a lot of preparation behind it. Certainly I always suggest customers to start spreading the word before they actually get the unit, so they can start lining up jobs. But there's also, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of cross-pollination in many industries. So very often the industrial environments in which these pilots operate, that they tend to be very small enclaves, and therefore when one asset owner finds out that there is this new tool, he wants to know about it, he wants to hear about it, will give the other asset owner a call, is going to inquire about it, and before you know it, you start having more and more leads coming through for jobs that perhaps previously you couldn't do. I think our role here at Flyability is to make sure that our inspection companies have the best possible training to perform the best possible inspection on the assets, and at the same time that we give them all the tools that they require to reach as many customers as possible. Whether this is statistics, case studies, or figures in terms of return on investment, this will have to be determined. But it's definitely the biggest challenge for inspection companies to essentially go out there and make their customer base know that they can provide this additional service.
Okay. And based on your experience with the different customers you have followed so far, is there any average range of time where they usually start to see positive ROI?
It's very difficult to put a number on the return on investment in general. However, what I can tell you is that last year we've had about half a dozen companies that started out with the rental model. Now, as you know, this is something that we came up with to reduce the upfront cost and give those customers that are still a little bit on the edge about making the full investment the time to assess the market and the potential for this kind of platform. And I'm very happy to say that basically we've had a conversion ratio of 100% on the rentals. This goes to demonstrate that basically over that period of time, which goes to between 2 and 3 months, they not only been able to recover the amount of money for the initial investment, but they also found reason to believe that there is a market that can justify the full investment on the platform. So I would say, taking that as a small sample, that you're probably looking at anywhere between 4 to 5 months to recover your initial investment and start making a profit.
So 4 to 5 months seems pretty good. I'd like to get back on a point you've mentioned earlier. You said that one of the value the end customers and asset owners see in service provider using Helios is this possibility to save on risks, downtime, and overall costs. If we take into consideration the money that they will save by hiring these companies, Do you think it can justify a higher cost per hour from the service provider?
Absolutely. I think that there's leverage